Hello, I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I am Ronita Overton, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us is Rahman Branch. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. Great to be here. Let's jump in.
Great, thank you so much. Before we talk about your 2024 primary election campaign to represent Ward 8 on the Council of the District of Columbia, please tell the viewers a little about your background and who you are.
Great. So, my name is Rahman Branch. I've been in DC full-time since 1997. I've been a constant visitor since 1977. I have an aunt who lives in DC. My father would send me here every summer from New Jersey because he thought there was more exposure to other, kind of experiences if I came down to the DC area. So my aunt would put us in summer camps and such. But I've been here since 1997, been in Southeast specifically since 2005. My career is one of it being an educator. I started doing after school programs in Park Morton and Lincoln Heights, where I assisted young people with after school programming, helped stabilize families around making sure that children were, showing up as their best self in school. And then ultimately, I kind of complained about the deficits I witnessed so much. I was then challenged to become a teacher. I was told, you're complaining so much, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you teach? And so I got into teaching, and thank goodness that I had a league of wonderful supporters, primarily led by my girlfriend at the time, who was a nationally board certified teacher. She would teach me how to teach every lesson the next day, and so I got the hang of teaching class. From there, my progression kind of rapidly moved. I found myself becoming an assistant principal, at which I failed miserably. And so I had such a struggle as an assistant principal. I went to seek out training programs to kind of hone my skills, and I found New Leaders for New Schools. From that program, I was placed at Blue High School. I have an arts background. I worked in music and in arts for a while during college, just as I was leaving college into my professional career. And I believe that instantly my education and arts background would have me going to a place like Duke Ellington. And I had my heart set on Ellington. And I knew through the New Leaders program, I'll be at this school for 1 year, then I'm going to Ellington where I really belong. Well, you look up a decade later, I'd fallen in love with Southeast and pretty much stayed there and served Ballou for that entire time. A lot of great wins at Ballou. We turned around the issues of attendance, behavior, and course performance. We had some real wins around stabilizing families so that young people can come to school and show up as their best self in their best fashion. We had a lot of wins around the nonprofit space and partnering. We raised about $7 or $8 million in the nonprofit space to do wraparound services for families, to make sure that young people who are graduating from Ballou will go off to college with a scholarship anywhere from $1,200 to $7,000. That is actually still in place today, proudly. We got a brand new building. City Council gave us $8 million for renovation, partnered with the community, and we wrangled $147 million out of City Council because we knew our children needed it and they deserved it. After spending a decade there, Councilmember Barry was kind of coaching me on the next stage in my career. I found myself in the mayor's office as director of African American Affairs. Specifically wanted to make sure that a lot of the same things occurred. Education, economic opportunity, and housing were things that I was hyper-focused on as a director of that office. Worked with a lot of agency directors on how they could switch mindset to move the needle for communities of color, helping them understand what their work had to be to have a different outcome for the Black community in Washington, D.C., and did that for the first term. I'm most proud of getting that office codified, which ultimately means I was able to now make it an office that could give grant funds out to residents. Not unlike a lot of our other affinity offices, some of them are getting, $7 and $8 million a year for small business incubation, after school programming, health and wellness, senior programming. And I recognize that the African-American community of DC not only needed those same things, it was mandatory that we receive support in that way. And so I spent a lot of time, again, working with council to get that office codified. We successfully got it unanimously voted on. We had 100+ public witnesses to the necessity of this office. Sadly, to date, no one's put money into that office since I left it in 2017, but it does exist as an avenue for really, pouring into this equity conversation that we often like to have in DC, but haven't really gotten it right on the implementation. And so I'm very proud to, not only have it existing, but if elected, to put money back into that office to get it going. I'm a father, which I'm most proud of 4 wonderful children, Towson, A&T, Spellman. My youngest is a sophomore right now. He's a proud Banneker Bulldog. And fatherhood is probably my biggest joy, my greatest accomplishment, the best thing I've ever done. And yeah, now I'm looking to continue my career of public service by, throwing my hat in the ring and hopefully do right by, the 84,000 plus residents of Ward 8.
Great. Please tell our viewers about the position that you're running for and why you want to be elected to that position.
Right. So I'm running for Ward 8 City Council. Ultimately, the job of a city council member, in layman's terms, is they help make the rules. If this were an athletic league, they'd be the rules committee, right? They're the group that decides, here are the laws of how we're going to govern and move our district. And I feel like, let me rephrase that. I'm really clear that, the needs of our community in Ward 8, and they've gotten more dynamic and more varied over the years. They haven't really, they don't really resonate with all 13 of the council members. And for a myriad of reasons, rules haven't really been built to move our ward to a place of self-sufficiency, of self-sustainability. And quite frankly, the infrastructure of our ward looks vastly different than this dramatic and beautiful change that we've seen most of Washington, D.C. go through. I want to run for this position because all the livability data in our ward has been moving in the wrong direction long enough. I want to run because, we should not have anyone having bullets come through their window at 6 a.m. as it did at my home one morning. I want to run because Ward 8 has more children in it than any other ward in the district. And if elected, we now have someone who is an expert at youth development and at, education, and we can invest in the glass and steel of the skyscrapers and the wharfs, the things like that. Those are beautiful and they're wonderful and we enjoy them. But at the same time, I want to redirect some energy on pouring resources to an equal amount into, our most precious resource, which is our children, because the end game is to make sure that Ward 8 has a small town feel, which a lot of residents have talked about. And we do that by making sure our young people become better human beings than us.
What are your top 3 issues?
Great. My top 3 issues, public wellness, education, and economic opportunity. Ward 8 right now exists at about 70% renters. And so when we talk about growth and gentrification and displacement, the only way that you can really thwart that change is by becoming an owner. Well, once that 70% renters, once sellers and buyers agree on a price, we ultimately have no voice. So the way that you get to become someone who stays is by owning some property. I really believe that. And you can only own property when you're able to make a living wage. $17 an hour is not a living wage. And so I want to make sure that with all the development that's coming, with the change that we're seeing in the ward, that we're being intentional about hiring hyper-local, which means Ward 8 residents on Ward 8 projects, because that is the only way to ensure that Ward 8 residents have the option to buy into the condos they're building, the townhomes in St. Elizabeth's, or the single-family homes that exist in Congress Heights. We have to give folks the means to become homeowners. So economic opportunity is a huge one. Public wellness exists in so many different ways. That looks like, the issue that we have around the food apartheid in Ward 8. That looks like the issues that we have around the, pardon me, it's allergy season, so my apologies. Part of that, speaks to what we want to do around health and wellness. We are getting Cedar Hill. We're getting a hospital, in Ward 8 finally. But, really the issues around prenatal and neonatal care have to be addressed. The opioid issue that we have, which really inflicts Black men 40 to 69 more than any other population in Ward 8, is something that we have to look at. So public wellness not just speaks to what we're having in the space of triage and intervention, but how are we being preventive with the foods that we're given, with the kind of stores and the food apartheid challenges that we have, and with the kind of care that we get from our public health system as it exists. And then finally, education. I really believe that the way we make our district better and the way we really push these DC values is to make sure our young people have a myriad of things. First thing that they need to have, and pardon me for being long-winded, but as a principal, I always talk to my staff about what I envision that graduate looking like. And so for the ward, I want to make sure that we have schools that exist and are so resourced and so supported that families are no longer saying the old adage is, I send my kid uptown for a better education. And that means we have to have teachers who are skilled in reading skills to deliver the science of reading pre-K through 5. We want every child reading on grade level. As a principal, I had about 60% of my population coming to me in the 9th grade, reading between kindergarten and 4th grade levels. And my job was to make them globally competitive.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
I
Go
get
ahead.
excited. Oh, by all means.
Thank you for giving us that detailed discussion about your top issues. Can you tell us very briefly why you are the best choice for voters?
Absolutely. Ultimately, experience matters. I've proven through my time of service to Ward 8, specifically from 2005 till now. In 2005, the incumbent was a college student while I was in service. The other gentleman running was not in the district. We have no idea where he was or what he was doing. But since 2005, my hands have bear fruit for Ward 8, from service in Ballou High School to service from the mayor's office. To quote the youth around me, I've put on for Ward 8 since 2005. And results have been what has come about from my work. If we vote for me, what we have is the most informed, the most experienced person around our greatest resource, which is young people. And my approach to making sure that the families are stabilized and have the resources they need to make their own decisions becomes paramount. I don't want to be a person who celebrates every year when we give out more turkeys than the year before, right? Because that just means we have more hungry families that year. I want to make sure we're putting things in place to ensure that that number goes down every year. I want to get it to a place where families are, looking for realtors and homes to buy. And I'm the person who could do that because I have relationships on council. I've proven that I know how to get resources from council. Having worked in the mayor's office, I know what the budget structure looks like. I know who overspends and underspends and gives money back to the general fund all the time. And so when we talk about a budget crunch, there definitely is one. There's no fooling about that. But I also know who has spent historically and who hasn't. And I know what healthy government oversight looks like.
When does voting begin?
So for some of us, voting has already started. So, Board of Elections have sent out the mail-in ballot. So for folks who have it at home, you want to check number 2 for that Ward 8 ballot, because Rahman Branch is number 2. As we go into Memorial Day on the 26th, the early voting locations begin. And then the actual hard date where all votes are tallied and finalized, June the 4th. So for those who have ballots at home and aren't coming outside, vote for number 2 on the ballot. For those who are going early, you'll see us out there. Vote for number 2 on the ballot. And for those who are coming out on June 4th, you'll probably see me at your precinct as I will get around. Vote number 2 on the ballot. This is Council 2.0.
Please tell our viewers how they can learn more about you and support your campaign.
Absolutely. So you can learn more about me at electrahmanbranch.org. That is our website. On that site, you'll see places where you can donate. Every campaign always needs more financial support. So if you want to donate, there's a slot for that. But if you want to volunteer, if you believe that young people deserve their best opportunity, if you believe that parents deserve to have the means to create their own futures for themselves and their families and buy in our ward, then sign up to be a volunteer. Come out to help us with election day voting, our Get Out the Vote mission. We always love more bodies to our movement. So there's a donate box and there's a join our team box, and I'd love for you to do both.
Thank you so much. Viewers, please look in the description below for links. Thank you for spending some time with us, Rahman, and we wish you all the best this upcoming election season.
Thank you for having me. It means a lot. Team Rayceen is the freshest, and I hope to be talking to you guys as council member pretty soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
And to the viewers, thank you for watching.